And just in case you didn't know, I'm doing G. Yeah. Yo, what up, man? This is your boy GS. And this is, let's be honest. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. Yo, what up? This is your boy GS, and this is Let's Be Honest. And I want to talk to you guys today about my first big challenge with Christianity. You know, I think everybody's approach to Christianity is different, or everybody's experience with Christianity from the beginning has been very different. There are people who came into Christianity or dedicated their lives to the Lord or committed their lives, surrendered their lives, whatever group of words you want to use to identify your relationship with God. They came into this, some with some issues still lingering, some issues still brewing in their lives, and some things they haven't been able to let go of. I actually was dealing with more internal issues when I first dedicated my life to the Lord. And one of the toughest things that I experienced, the first thing that I experienced as a Christian that was the toughest, was I had moved back from California. I am now staying with my sister, and I was looking, I was trying to start over again. And my sister was also in the process of starting over herself. And so I wanted to give her privacy. And so I said, hey, let me go and just stay with mom. And she's like, no, I'm going to go stay with mom and them. And I'm going to get back on my feet and everything like that. And then, but I want to tell you, thank you, for the opportunity. Thank you for being my big sister and loving me and things of that nature. And I want to stay with my parents. And the interesting thing was this: I had a car, a Dodge Magnum, that had 22-inch rims on it, and it was it was like a forest green. It had, in Houston, your Beats and Screen and all that stuff in the car. I had all of that stuff in the car, and I called it the 22-inch Grinch. Right? I had a name for the car and everything. It was, and I mean, it was a nice car. My rims was really, really, really expensive. Most of the stuff that was on my car was really expensive, and you could hear me from miles down the street. And so I moved into these apartments. These apartments weren't great apartments at all. I mean, they weren't great at all. And I somehow convinced myself that if I move into this environment, that I can change the environment from the inside. I think I think one of those TD Jakes things popped up, and I'm saying, like, guys, don't murder me. I'm not, I'm saying, like, one of those TD Jake things popped up, and they were talking about infecting the community from the inside out. And I think he was using the analogy of a sickness infecting people. And so I was like, yo, I'm just gonna infect the community with Jesus, right? I don't know. I was young in the faith, but I had all these great ideas. So I decided to move to the hood and infect people from the inside out, right? Or infect or affect, whichever one. I just really wanted to love on people and introduce them to God. And I had just given my life to the Lord probably about 5 or 6 months prior to that. So me understanding who God is, I was a babe in a sense, a baby in the faith. And I just had a lot of passion, and I was on fire for God. And while I was there, I think maybe about 4 days into being there, I'm asleep in the room. Morning time comes, and this was the first toughest day as a Christian for me. My dad walks in the room and he said, "Hey, I see you left your trunk up on your car. I closed it for you." And I said, "What?" He like, I see you left the trunk up on your car. I closed it for you. And right then and there, I knew exactly what happened. I mean, it was 4 days. I knew that somebody had broken into my car. When I got up, threw my clothes on. I wasn't even like, how people get their car broken into, they get up, throw their clothes on real fast, and they're running and stuff. I didn't do any of that. I knew that my car had already been broken into. It's daylight. Whatever happened has already happened, right? Let me just go outside and assess the amount of damage. So I put my clothes on. I'm not really, in a rush. And my dad, he's not panicking or nothing. He's like, okay. And because when he said it to me, I was like, okay. Put clothes on. I go outside. And it was weird. There was a pillow in the back of my car. I don't remember if it was my pillow or they left the pillow. Is that like a way you steal something? I'm not sure what happened, but it was a pillow in the back of my car and it was hanging out. It was like laying on the floor in at the trunk of my car because I back my vehicle in all the time so that my trunk would be toward the apartment. So if anything happens, somebody from the they can look out that window and see. And because I anticipated something taking place. I mean, that car was a really nice looking car, right? So, and I understood it. Well, they took everything out the car. Well, basically, they took all my amps. They took all of my speakers. They took my screens. They took my radio. The only thing they left on my car was my rims. They didn't have enough time to get that. And plus, it was between other cars, so they couldn't jack them up because the spacing didn't allow them that much space and then time and things of that nature, right? So they took everything out the car, and I didn't really assess how much they actually took the amount, but I had full coverage insurance, and so I reached out to my insurance company. But here's the thing. It was almost as if the enemy was testing me to see if I was really a Christian. And when I tell you, this was one of the toughest times that I had to face, because up until me getting outside to my car, I was okay. When I got outside to my car, when I tell you, I went to 10 because it just reminded me of being violated. I was like, yo, somebody violated me. They've been watching my car. They know exactly who I am. I mean, this is an apartment complex. You know what's you know. And I'm like, no, they don't know what it is. They don't know me. They don't know. And I was like, okay, now I got to prove myself. Now I got to show you, because it goes back to the days of being in the hood. You don't get respect. People don't just automatically respect you. Now you got to go get the respect. You got to go make an example out of somebody, right? So I'm like, all right. I say they want to play around, because if I don't step up right now and defend myself or protect myself in any kind of way, then they go think that I'm a soft around here, and that's not what we're doing. And here's the thing: the entire mindset, because I had never been challenged in that way as a believer, my entire mindset toward how to handle that was completely worldly. Like I had never knew, because I never had that experience as a Christian. I didn't have no idea how to respond to it as a believer. And that's what the enemy uses. He uses inexperience. He gives us new approaches. He approaches us in new ways so that he can use those new ways, because we have no idea how to respond to him as believers. But here's the thing. If you figure out a way, learn or pray to God, and you are able to get through that issue or that circumstance or that problem, and you've seen that God worked in your favor, or you seen that you was able to stay calm or whatever it was in that situation, and when the next time it comes, you know exactly what to do, and that's building trust in God. But I hadn't had that yet, right? This is my very first time. So again, I'm hot. I'm on fire. I got my pistol in the house. I go back in the crib, and I'm in there I'm sitting in the room, and my legs is, jumping and everything. And I got my pistol, I put it on my lap, and I say, you know what? They want an example. I'm finna give them one. Now, it's probably at this time, it's about maybe about 10 a.m. So I go through the motions of calling the insurance company. I'm talking crazy to them on the phone. They had nothing to do with my car getting broken into. I'm realizing that I need to control my emotions, but I didn't really care. They came out, obviously days later, assessed the situation, wrote me a check for it, and it turned out to be okay. So I want to give y'all that part of the story. But what ended up happening was, so right around 12 p.m., I'm like, yeah, they out here now. And in my head, I'm thinking they, like the dope boys, the jack boys, I'm like, they out here now. Yeah, I'm finna make an example out of somebody. So I'm sitting there thinking, like, it's lunchtime in the hood or something, everybody's outside just chilling. I get in my car. Got my pistol on my lap, it's loaded. Mind you, I'm a minister of the gospel. I'm a minister of the gospel. I'm a Christian rap artist also. I am riding around with a gun on my lap, looking for the person who broke into my car. Look how the enemy can do things. Because I was influenced by the situation in the moment. I didn't take time out to consult the Father. I didn't take time out to really assess what took place. If we don't learn how to respond to some of the hardships in our lives, we're going to continue to go through those things, and we call them cycles, and they're going to continue to hurt us and continue to hurt us and continue to beat us down, and we're never going to get to the point of conquering that thing. So as I'm riding around the neighborhood, I tell myself in my head, I say, you know what? The first person look at me. Because I know they know something. You know, I was in the hood. Listen, when I was in the hood, and we used to do what we did, we knew everything. We just didn't say nothing. You know what I mean? Like, we knew everything. We just didn't say nothing to nobody. And I know the looks. You feel me? Like, I know how they talk about people that, you know, that seem like, oh, yeah, man, homie got. He just don't even know what's going on. And in this moment, I felt like one of them dudes, right? I felt like they got me. They know what's going on, but I don't, right? Like, they keeping me, okay, let's figure this thing out. And so I said to myself, the first person, I'm gonna ride around. Cause I had tent windows on. I mean, my car, it was illegal tent. I mean, you couldn't see nothing inside my car. You can see everything outside. I couldn't see nothing inside. And it was a Dodge Magnum, low to the ground, all that stuff, right? I said, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna ride around, and the first person that even give me a look that looks remotely like they did something, I'm letting off. Like, and you know what's crazy is this is the kind of behavior I exhibited when I wasn't saved. So this is immediately the place I went back to after I had gotten saved. And get this, I was no longer in the streets like that. I hadn't been in the streets like that for maybe about 3-4 years. I had been far removed from that kind of activity. You know what I mean? I was still sinning, but I wasn't in the streets, right? You know what I mean? Like, and the first thing I thought to myself was, make an example. So as I'm riding, I'm looking. And as I'm passing by, I see groups of guys in different parts of the apartment complex just chilling. I'm riding by, I start slowing down, looking at the group. I roll the window down. Nobody looked at me. Pistol is on my lap, hand is on my pistol. Nobody looks at me. I drive past the next group of guys. They're standing on the road. It was maybe like 2 this time. It was 4 the first time. I roll my window down. Nobody looks at me. And you know the interesting thing that I didn't consider, that these men were children of God too. They had mothers. They were somebody's son. They may have been somebody's father, may have been somebody's husband. And I didn't care enough about their lives because they took something out of a vehicle. I was willing to take their lives away or harm them in some way because of some electronics. Now, as I'm riding, I think God was in the midst of all of that because of what I was willing to do for what I considered respect. There was pure ignorance and being used by the enemy. My pride got the best of me. And somehow I was able to talk myself, a Christian, man of God, praying for people, going state to state, ministering the gospel on the stage, baptizing folks. And God fast forwarded my life in the very beginning. He fast forwarded my life with him in the very beginning. I didn't have to go through all of the things that most people have gone through. I had ended up being in the best situation at the time for myself musically. I was in the best situation ministerially. There was, in this city of Houston, I believe there was nobody better to be on both sides of the music and ministry during that time. I had the best of both Christian worlds. And I was willing to take somebody's life, and I didn't think about the repercussions of it because of some electronics. And here's the thing, that's not the crazy part about the story. I had ended up getting home after all that took place. I'm sitting on the couch, my mom is looking at me. And she's like, how you feel? I'm not telling her everything that went on. I'm still a little fuming a little bit. I'm like, I'm good. She said, all right. My mom is one of those people that's like, she catch on to things. She don't pry. She don't, none of that. She just kind of let you figure it out. That's the way she deals with me. That's not necessarily how she deals with my other siblings, but that's how she deals with me. And I love her for that because it's made me think a lot. She never had to think for me. I was always able to kind of be a leader in that way. She suggested some things. She may have given some advice, but it was never advice that was never asked for. And so she always left me alone to figure things out. And so I'm sitting at my house, go through the insurance, do all of that. They come out, assess the situation. Probably about 3 days later, of course, I'm shaking the neighborhood down. Kind of calmed down at this point. You know, it's kind of like the out of sight, out of mind thing. You know, GS, just forget about it. Right? Just forget about it. Don't worry about it. Just forget about it. You know, it happened. Nothing you can do about it. Get your check from this insurance company. You know, replace what you want to replace and go on about your business. And it's even now telling you this, it doesn't bother me. Like, it's just difficult to say because you just really feel like a sucker. You know what I mean? Like, there's no other word. I really feel like sometimes being a Christian puts you in a position to feel like a sucker. But in God's eyes, you have defeated the enemy. And there's nothing that I developed hate more for than the enemy. And a couple of days later, I'm sitting in the living room. I figured out who did it, right? I get the information I needed. I knew exactly who did it, and come to find out he was one of the people in the neighborhood that was doing it to a lot of people. Nobody knew, only, people that was in the apartments that was somebody that like that they knew. And I was able to kind of wiggle my way back into the mindset to get the information that I needed. Because I wanted to be aware of what was going on around me. I hear a knock on my door. I get up, I open the door, and it's the guy who broke into my car. Here's the thing. He had no idea that I knew that he did it. He had no idea that I knew that he was the one that broke into my car and took everything. And the ripple effect that came with it, what I was willing to do and how I was willing to throw my life away. He had no idea. But as he's standing right there in front of the door, I opened the door kind of wide, and I seen him, and I kind of closed it a little bit and stepped in between the door because I didn't know what was about to take place. I didn't know how I was going to respond to him. I didn't want my parents to be in a situation or none of that. I look at this guy, and this guy has a toy in his hand, like a kid's toy. And he looks at me and he says, "Hey man, hey, hey man, I'm just wondering if I can sell you this toy right here, man. I would just, and I knew the guy had kids. I had, found out all this information about this guy, and he was like, I have kids, man, and I want to, give you this toy. If you can give me $20 so I can go and buy some diapers for my kids, man, I definitely appreciate it." And I would oftentimes see his kids without diapers and diapers sagging and hanging and stuff that had been worn too long. And while I'm standing there in the door, God used something that I was familiar with. And it's crazy. God used something that I was familiar with to be able to show this man love. I had just came back from Cali. My daughter was still in California. And I would call my daughter every day. She was only 2 years old. And I would call her every single day. And I wanted the opportunity just to be there, to do something for her. And when he said, "I want to be able to buy my kids some diapers," the anger that was in my heart changed toward him because I was able to relate to wanting to do something for your children there with them. This man had an opportunity to be there with his kids. And I looked at him, and I no longer felt anger towards him. I felt sorry for him. But even in that, I still wasn't over what had happened. I looked at him, I said, "Hold on, man, real quick, I'll be right back." I closed the door, I step into my home, and I'm pacing in the living room, and I'm trying to figure out how am I going to respond. Am I going to open this door back up with something to do something, or am I going to give this man what he's asking for? And as I'm walking down the hallway to my room to either grab the cash or a weapon, my mom's in the hallway. She said, "Who's that?" And I said, "That's the dude that broke in my car. He's asking for some money to get some diapers for his kids." And she says to me, "But what are you going to do?" My mom never told me what to do. She seen the look on my face, what I felt like doing. She left the decision to me. And right then in that moment is the first time I felt I was a real Christian. Because I knew this was the first challenge that I'd ever had in my life. Feeling violated, feeling laughed at, feeling talked about, and not being able to do nothing about it. And when she said that to me, it triggered. And I began to think about the Lord. And it's funny, this is cliche, but you know, the what would Jesus do? I was actually wearing one of those. For me, like, I had just given my life to the Lord. I was like, let me wear one of these, man. I think this will solidify me. And I looked at it. And I really asked myself, what would Jesus do? And I got what I got out the room. I came back to the living room. I opened the door. When I opened the door, he stepped back. And I handed him $20. That's what I went and got. He went to hand me the toy. I said, no, man, go get some diapers for your kids, bro. Be blessed, man. He said, all right, man, thank you so much, man. Appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. I closed the door. I sat in the living room, and I said, God, if this is the life you want me to have, it's going to be tough, but I'm willing. That was the toughest thing I had ever had to deal with as a believer in the very beginning. The first toughest thing. You know, when you come from, you know, I didn't smoke, I didn't curse, I didn't such and such, such and such. But the internal things of a person is just as bad as the external things. I had to deal with how to respond to a situation I had never encountered before. Now, as a believer, a new mindset, a new creation in Christ. I had to learn how to respond to it in this way. And by far, it was the most difficult thing I had ever dealt with in the beginning of my Christianity and my Christ walk. And there may be some people that's listening to this right now and just saying, man, I'm saying, like, that couldn't have been me. That could have did such and such. That couldn't have been such and such, yada, 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 yada. And I would challenge you with this. Why would you give your life to God and not give everything that you have to him and not get back everything you can get back from him? When I was in the streets, man, listen, I sold what I sold to make money. That's what I did it for. I didn't smoke any of it. I didn't take any of it. I did it to make money. I made money. I was committed to what I was committed to. When I gave my life to the Lord, I said, I'm over here. That's it. There's no other nothing. I'm over here, period. Let's go. I've always been that kind of guy that's, let's ride. That's what I'm here for. If I'm going to tell you I'm going to do it, let's go. The only way that that's going to change is if I believe that the contract changes in some way, the agreement changes in some way. Because I'm not getting off this boat until this bad boy is in the water and then we swim to the shore together. And God used my commitment to whatever cause I was a part of to really build the depth of my relationship with him, and I love him for it. And you know, God may be doing the exact same thing for you. One of the things that made me really think about how I should learn how to respond to things the way that God desires for me to respond to him is Matthew 6:14-15. It says, for if you forgive others their trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if you do not forgive them, forgive others their trespasses, neither will your Father forgive your trespasses. I'm going to keep it 100 with you, man. I want everything. I want everything that God has for me. I don't want to ease my way into heaven. I don't want to ease my way into eternity with the Father. I want to really go. And this was the first time that I had to really look at myself and say, are you really committed to this? Or are you going to play? Because all through my life, one of the reasons why I hadn't given my life to the Lord prior to this is because I had seen so many people in the church playing with God. I mean, there's a lot of people still playing with God that's in the church, Christian rap and all that. That's a whole nother story. But I had to really ask myself, if you forgive somebody, then he will forgive you. But if you don't forgive people, then he won't forgive you. And you know what's even more crazy about it? I think it's the depth of which I had to dive into within myself, right? I had to go into within myself to be able to forgive this man. But I overcame it. And when I overcame it, I'm going to tell you this. I still feel like I got suckered, but I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like I accomplished something that I would have never been able to accomplish had I not been planted in me the ability of leadership from my mother, her teachings, her prayers. I don't believe I would have been able to accomplish it without my level of dedication to the Lord, without my diligence and my discipline with reading the word of God and praying to him every day, asking him for wisdom and strength. I don't think I would have been able to do it, but I did. And that was a victory. And so if you're listening to this, man, I want to tell you, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening to Let's Be Honest. There's going to be a lot more that we're going to talk about, but there's challenges in this life that we may not expect, that we don't know that's going to happen. And literally the book of our lives is being written right now. When we read about Peter, when we read about Paul, we read about John, we read about these guys, we get an opportunity to read about another person's life. And if somebody were to read a book about your life, you tell me, what would that book be about? What would be the most incredible and impactful chapter of your life in that book? And how would it affect the people who are reading it? I want my book to build people. I want my book to grow people. I want my book to challenge people. And because I commit hard, because I love hard, because I surrender hard, because I dedicate myself hard, I had to forgive hard. But I would have never been able to do it without the power of the Holy Spirit. I'm out.